Okay, so on last night's show or podcast, we were talking about the gun reform bill that is working its way into becoming law. And one of the things that we were talking about along with that was how a lot of these states that have extremely strict gun laws, like New York, LA, Chicago, they have some of the highest crime rates. My opinion on that, obviously I'm no expert, is I kind of feel like more than likely what's happening there is the criminals that get their guns illegally anyways really probably don't care about how many laws you're going to pass or what their consequences are for not obeying that law. You know, obviously if you're out carjacking, robbing, murdering people, you probably could care less about gun laws. More than likely, just throwing that out there. I don't know. And so one of the things that we were discussing was in New York, how getting a concealed carry permit so that you can protect yourself or maybe even protect some people around you. Let's say in like a subway shooting, if those people were allowed to be armed, more than likely that guy probably would never went and tried to shoot up the subway. And second of all, more than likely, there could have been some return fire, maybe take him out, maybe save a life or two. We don't know. It's hard to say. So that was kind of interesting. So in order to get a permit there to conceal carry, you would have to give a really good reason why you should have to do that. And apparently, and this actually came from a lawyer. He was asked the question. So if I file for this permit and I say that, I live in a really bad part of town and there's violence all around me, murders, killings, whatever. Could I get a permit to conceal carry then? And the lawyer was like, no, definitely not. So that doesn't matter. Now, on the other hand, from what I understand, if you can say, well, I own a Fortune 500 company or I'm a multi-millionaire, billionaire, then you would be allowed to have a concealed carry permit. So it's not really so much about the value of life. It is about how much value you have. So that's ridiculous. That's simply saying that, well, because this person has a lot of money or they may have diamonds or whatever, that their life is worth more than yours. Likewise, senators, Congress people wanting to pass these laws, that has absolutely nothing to do with gun control or is going to help anybody. While at the same time, they can have, armed security. So you know what, if you're going to restrict me, restrict everybody else then. Or are you saying that my life is less valuable? Kind of interesting when you start putting in those terms. I'd be really curious to hear the argument or how somebody will say that, no, that's not what that's about. Because that's exactly what that's about. You're just simply saying that somebody's life is worth more than another person's life. When I thought we were all human beings. Maybe we're not. So it's Supreme Court, they had a ruling on restriction of having to prove or, give a good reason why that you should be able to conceal carry in New York. And they shot that down. I mean, it was unconstitutional. Not only unconstitutional for the Second Amendment, it was also unconstitutional for the 14th Amendment. So, I mean, there was two amendments that are being violated by this law. And of course, former Vice President Joe Biden, his comments that, well, they say statements and release. Now, whether he actually said this, it's hard to say. He's probably got a toddler writing some script for him. And we also have the New York City Mayor, Eric Adams. He also had some interesting comments about this after the fact. So I want to touch on that. And one thing, little off topic here, but still kind of on topic. The former Vice President Joe Biden was recently asked about, hey, are we going to have a recession? And of course he was like, oh, no. And the reporter's reply was, well, there's a lot of people and analysts that think that we are. And of course, Biden blasts right back with, well, now you're just making up stuff. And of course, the reporter didn't cite any analyst. And of course, Joe Biden, he's just like, well, he had nobody to cite. He's just making stuff up off the cuff of, no, that's not going to happen. And you're just making things up. We're not going to have a recession. And most of them don't even, that's not what they're saying. And it's like, who are they? The 19-year-olds that you have writing these crazy statements for you? All right. So I want to kind of, let's just kick it off with what's called a SPY. And it's a really good way to see how the U.S. economy is doing, which it has been said in the past by the White House that no, we don't follow the stock market. That doesn't tell us how the country is doing. That has nothing to do with it, which is not true at all. So when the market is doing great, then they want to take all the credit for it. When the market is doing bad, then they say, no, that's not a good indicator, and push the blame, kind of like what they've been doing with everything so far. This administration is blame somebody else. Try to, let's create something over here to distract, like smoke and mirrors. So anyways, yeah, so we're going to take a look at the SPY real quick. And of course, if you're just listening to this on Apple Podcast, BuzzFeed, a couple other places where we're at right now, then this is probably not going to make too much sense to you because you can't see the chart, but I'm going to go ahead and pull this up for our people on YouTube. Oh yeah, and we'll eventually be on Rumble also. And I think we'll have some links up on Truth Social. Yeah, I'm trying to spread out a little bit. I need a little bit of help though. So I need a PR person. I'd like to get a few more co-hosts on here too. So anybody interested, let me know, please. All right, so let's take a look at this chart real quick. Hello, welcome to the hard reset. What just happened? Let's take a look at AMC stock. Okay, so that intro made 0 sense. Okay, I spent a lot of time on that. I was kind of proud of it, but no, we're not going to talk about AMC. We're going to talk about the SPY. So the SPY is tracking the trend of the overall market and the health of it, which is a very good indicator. I look at it on a daily basis, and it lets me know, hey, should I be shorting the market or should I be going long on the market? Obviously, you don't want to buck the trend, but at the same time, there are certain things that can reverse a trend. So you have to be mindful of that also. So anyways, I'll quit babbling about that. So here we have the Trump era, and then we have the big plague hits us. But Trump's policies were actually strong enough to keep the market pushing up, which was actually pretty good. A lot of people don't understand this though, is so when Biden was put into office, was somewhere around here, which you can see the market is still moving up. He had to do nothing except for, well, basically just do nothing, and he would have been fine. Unfortunately, he put a bunch of policies in place, and we're about to see what happens when you make a bunch of bad decisions based on, I'm going to call it political theater and pandering, and it was kind of like a social experiment. It is, I'm not going to really place people in positions because of the qualifications. I'm going to place people in position because of their skin color or their sexual preference or their gender identity. You know, I'm not against any of that by any means. You do you, I'll do me, and we all just get along. And I mean, you know, it's kind of like a, don't push your religion on me. I won't push mine on you, and we'll get along just fine. But unfortunately, when you're trying to run a country, there are certain things where that doesn't work. You need to hire the best person for the job, not hire a person based on something that is a non-qualifier. And obviously, I would consider skin color, gender identity, stuff like that as a non-qualifier. It shouldn't be something that is used to qualify a person for something. At that point, that's discrimination, which I don't know. I don't know why the U.S. government came along with it. So if I just came out and said, well, kind of like earlier, I was like, you know what? I need, a PR person. Now, if I said I need a PR person and it has to be a Chinese male that identifies as a unicorn, I could get sued for that. Yeah, I would be in a lot of trouble. I might be in a lot of trouble just by mentioning that, but somehow the White House can do that. So as you can see, and this is the thing with futures, is futures is out in the future. So you have good decisions that was made, which carries things through. But at the same time, back in here, when bad decisions was made, those bad decisions are now starting to catch up. And if you look, you will see that, some of those bad decisions hit. And now some more bad decisions hit. None of this has to do with, which they keep wanting to say, blame all this on Putin. This has nothing to do with Putin. All this started way before Putin, which I don't know. That's just plain silly. And the people that believe that, man, I am so sorry that you are so blinded by either wanting to be right or wanting to believe in some sort of God or deity that you voted into office. But so now this has nothing to do with Trump right through here. I mean, Trump's been out of office long enough now, and now the futures are starting to catch up to the bad policies. And this is where we see the market just crashing. Look at this big gap right here. That's ridiculous. You should never have that. It should be nice, steady flowing up and down, of course. I mean, that's just how the market runs. But when you make really bad decisions, no, you end up with huge gaps like this, which may not look huge to some people. But when you look at charts all day long, you look at futures, you look at Forex, you look at the world economy. Yeah, that's a really bad sign. So yeah, we had Biden telling us that, oh, no, we're not going into a recession. And you know what? The bad part, this is not a recession right here, this big downtrend. Unfortunately, that is the best of the worst. Next year, because of all the other bad decisions being made right in this area, it is going to hit. So let's just go back here for a minute. So you had really good decisions being made. You had a plague hit, but those decisions that were put in place back here were actually strong enough to carry us through some really bad times. And then unfortunately, right about here in this part, the year markers are these gray dotted lines running vertical, by the way. So now it wears off and we're downtrending. So next year, more than likely around February or so of next year, we are going to get hit even harder. It's going to be, I'm not trying to be doom and gloom. It's going to be bad. Okay. So yeah, we got a president that's telling us, no, we're not going to hit a recession. There's a lot of people think we're in a recession right now, which actually we're not, even though you probably lost. Actually, let's take a real quick look here. So beginning of the year, Trump policies now completely out of effect. Biden policies in effect. You're looking at, what is that? Yeah, you're probably going to be down about 45% on your portfolio. And when I say portfolio, a lot of us working class, we have 401ks. So more than likely, yes, you're going to be missing about 45% in your 401k. And I feel really sorry for those people that was building up their nest egg and they're finally at that age. And the U.S. government is telling you that you can now retire and you've done enough work and you can have your own money tax free. And now when you go to access your own money, supposedly tax free, which is still not tax free, you're still getting taxed on it. But now you can access your 401k and it's only down 45%. Woo! Good thing you worked your rear off for that. That's got to be frustrating. I can only imagine. So yeah, I expect when we come out of 2022 into 2023, probably within a few months, then more of the really bad decisions that were made clear back in here is going to catch up with us, and it's not going to be pretty. Okay, so let's get on to this. So the gun reform law, to sum up the conversation last night, was, again, it's political. They don't care about the people, the kids. If they cared about the kids and the people, then they wouldn't be passing laws that are already laws. So one to say we need tougher, or we need background checks, we need red flag laws. All that stuff is kind of in place anyways. I mean, obviously the background check is in place. The red flag law, which, I mean, that's been being kicked around for quite a while now. The only people you're restricting with some of these laws are law-abiding citizens, which I know everybody's like, that can go both ways. I've heard the argument that, well, yeah, you're a law-abiding citizen until you do something illegal. Okay, that's feasible, but I tell you what's not happening is gang members shooting each other. They were never law-abiding in the first place. They weren't law-abiding when they illegally purchased their gun. They were not law-abiding when And they ignored laws, simple ones like obviously you can't go shoot somebody in the face and steal their car. That's against the law. Do they care? Can you pass a law that says don't shoot people in the face while stealing their car? And they're just going to like, oh, I can't do that. I better find another way of stealing your car from you other than shooting you in the face. Can I shoot them in the foot? Maybe. Can I do that? No, it's just stupid. And it's not helping anything. But what's happened though, because we got primaries coming up, is now they can say, hey, look, we did a thing. We got together, we band together, and we got X amount of Democrats, X amount of Republicans. I really hate grouping people by a political party like that. Can we have common sense party? Is that a thing? All right, enough of that rambling. Anyway, so the Supreme Court shot down. I shouldn't say shot down. They found that New York's gun law with the concealed carry having to prove why you need it, which we discussed a little bit earlier and on last night's show, why that makes no sense. And it's in violation of two different amendments, your Second Amendment and your 14th Amendment. This one. So this is the statement, presumably, allegedly. This is what Joe Biden had jotted down. Again, I don't think Biden wrote this. I think maybe, yeah, sure, he agreed to it. He probably just had some 19-year-old staffer that is probably living in his grandma's basement, eating lasagna every night, playing video games, heads over to the White House and writes down some crap and says, oh, yeah, this is what the president said. All right, so this is a former vice president. His thoughts on after the Supreme Court ruled it against a couple different constitutional rights. He says, I am deeply disappointed by Supreme Court's ruling in New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bryn since 1911. The state of New York has required individuals who would like to carry a concealed weapon in public to show a need to do so for the purpose of self-defense. So first of all, I think it is everybody's right to be able to defend themselves. And in America, we are very fortunate to be able to fight fire with fire. So that means I can carry a firearm to defend myself, defend my family, defend my loved ones, defend the general public around me if the need arises. And unfortunately, we have criminals. So rather than trying to get rid of guns, let's get rid of criminals. Oh, no way. We went light on criminals. We just rotate them in and out of jail as quick as possible now. So that makes zero sense. Anyway, so basically, Biden's very disappointed in this, that it has chosen to call out that it is against the Second Amendment and 14th Amendment. And it says this ruling contradicts both common sense. Where was the common sense at when you said, all right, if you are worth X amount of dollars, a billionaire, then you can't have a gun? There's no common sense in that. You're simply saying that because so-and-so has a bunch of money that they're worth more than, let's say, the person that's actually sweeping the trash up from your sidewalks so you have a nice place to live. I mean, nothing against the custodian of the streets of New York. Definitely not. I wouldn't want to do that job. Most of these people wouldn't want to do that job. But at the same time, that custodian of the streets of New York, he might need to be able to carry a firearm with him to protect himself from crazy people and maybe help out the public in the event of, let's say, like the subway shooting. Yeah, so it's very unfortunate that Joe Biden had signed off on this, and then he wants to try to, again, is virtue signaling and just pandering. He's like, well, see, there was these horrific attacks in Buffalo and Uvalde. You know what? Yes, they were. But what he's leaving out is the fact that, well, let's just say like Uvalde, the police, they were there. They weren't able to protect anybody. So, and again, Buffalo, same way. It's kind of mind-boggling that he would think that allowing people to be able to protect themselves is such a crime. And that, actually, even better yet, people trying to acquire a permit to be able to legally carry a firearm, regardless of race, gender, capital wealth. Why is that a criteria? So you're saying a person that has more money than me is more capable to carry a firearm? Yeah, that makes no sense. But that's basically what Biden is telling us here. Or again, presumably, like I said, I know Biden probably did not write this. He just signed off on it saying, "Oh yeah, that's great. That's fine. Just print it and say I said that." Okay, so yeah, you know what? There's enough of that. It's just, I think it's really ignorant of the president or Vice President Joe Biden to come out and say that he disagrees with the Constitution. I mean, that's part of his job, is to uphold the Constitution. Okay, so let's hop on over to the next guy here. This is Eric Adams, mayor of New York. His comments are, again, just as bad. So, quote, "Put simply, this Supreme Court ruling will put New Yorkers at further risk of gun violence." Okay, can you elaborate on that? Can you explain to us how having law-abiding citizens being able to conceal carry a protective firearm, how's that going to raise gun violence? Your city is already overran with gun violence. The majority of your police force is gone. So, all right, I'll throw this back into his lap, because he does come in here and say that, which I guess what they're looking at doing is they're trying to create areas where it is going to be illegal to carry a gun. Okay, that's all fine and dandy. Do you think the criminals are going to see a sign that says this is a no gun zone and they're just going to turn around? That's not going to happen. That's pure ignorance. And that is just, I don't understand what the problem is with allowing people that can pass a background check to be able to carry a firearm on their person in public, concealed. What's going to happen there? They might save a life, possibly. They might save their life. They might save, I don't know, 19, 20 some odd lives, possibly. But to simply say that we cannot allow New York to become the Wild West. New York is already the Wild West, you dipshit. I mean, what are you thinking there? Okay, so let's just say I'm on a subway. The subway is moving. And there is, let's just say, some drug dealers on the train, some thieves, people stealing, people beating people. Somebody just pulls out a gun because they are a black supremacist or whatever. And now they're just shooting up the train. I'm going to dial 911. What's going to, the police are just going to magically show up all of a sudden? Or is there a possibility there might be, maybe, let's say, 5 or 6 people on that same train that have concealed carry permits and they are carrying at that time? They might be able to eliminate that threat. It is way better than hoping the police might show up and stand around for, I don't know, over an hour, not doing crap. Think about it. All right, that's all I've got on this for right now. But yeah, so very disappointing in the former Vice President Joe Biden, his 19-year-old apprentice, what he jotted down, supposedly that Biden said or wrote. Biden didn't write this. And very disappointing in what Eric Adams had to say. I think a lot of people thought Eric Adams was going to be good for New York, but after reading what he just said here, no, he's not going to be good for New York. It's a shame, because I mean, he kind of had he said a few things that really I think a lot of people believed in, but then again, he said a lot of things too that were, let's call it red flags. Hopefully he doesn't have a gun. If you look at some of his past statements, I'm not going to post them here, but yeah, look it up. It's really interesting. All right. Well, thanks for watching, and please like, subscribe, all that other fun stuff. Leave some comments. I want to know what other people are thinking. And again, I am looking for, I need a PR person. And I need a couple of extra co-hosts. I want to do some expanding, and I kind of want to go out and do some live stuff on the street, but that's something different too. All right. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it.